Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the Azadi March. At this time, the Maulana Fazlur Rahman seems adamant on the Azadi March going forward. Whether that actually will happen, we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about the efforts of the government and the committee that's been formed to sway the Maulana Sahab. We'll be talking about whether what kind of a success rate will the committee likely to have. We'll be talking about also this religion, the phenomena of religion in politics and the kind of effects it can have on politics, on religion and also on society. We'll be talking about all of that today. I have with me Shafiq Ahmed, who's a senior analyst. Thank you for joining us today. Waqas Salim, who's a political analyst. Thank you for being with us today. And Zafar Sheikh, who's a senior analyst. Thank you for joining us today. Ji, Shafiq Sahab, like I was saying, it seems like the fact that there will be at this time, Maulana Sahab is quite sure, he's quite adamant that there will be an Azadi March. The government on the other side has formed a committee to talk to him. What kind of a success do you expect from the committee, and what kind of, the stubbornness that we've seen, I mean, for the lack of a better word, from Maulana Sahab, do you think that it will go forward, considering the kind of trend it can have on politics as far as, our dharnas are concerned, protests are concerned, and of course, we were earlier also talking about how protest itself is an inherent right, and no one can take that away from anyone.
That is true.
Ji.
What is my understanding, like they have formed a committee headed by Parvez Khattak Sahab, and I think so it is a little bit late, like the government respond to the rally or sit-in in Islamabad. So Maulana Sahab had announced quite earlier that he had a plan, and he just changed the date from 27th of October to 31st of October.
Right.
So I think that my understanding is that it will not work because Maulana Sahab seems to be very adamant, and he said that he will definitely launch the march, and
Right.
he has already planned that he will start his march from Karachi, and then he will move from different cities in the Sindh, where he will be welcomed, by the way, because Pakistan People's Party has announced that they are going to morally support him, welcome the rally, but they are very, strict that they are not taking part in any kind of dharna or the rally. So, but at least they will be given a little bit free hand in Sindh. So, I think so that Maulana is quite adamant, and he has already planned everything. So if the initiative which has taken by the government to negotiate with Maulana Fazlur Rahman seems to be, the chances are only 5%, I don't know, but I think not more than 10% or between 5 to 10%.
Yes, a lot of chances that he can be swayed at this time.
Yes.
But at one time, of course, he's quite adamant, he's quite sure that he wants to go ahead. But on the other hand, his exact plans are still uncertain, or do you think that he's withholding them? He wants to keep them as a surprise. There's been a lot of debate about that also.
I mean, he's a very shrewd politician, by the way. Like, he's a Maulana a politician, and actually, Pakistan People's Party has a clear stance that People's Party will not take part in a dharna, which can derail democratic process.
Right.
Because Pakistan People's Party has a stake in the government. It has the government in Sindh. So if democracy derails, so the damage will be also done to Pakistan People's Party.
Right.
So People's Party stance is very clear. On the other hand, the Nawaz Sharif, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, they are in a fix whether to join the rally or to be part of the sit-in or not. So that is why Maulana kept his card a little bit close to his chest, not exposing that what's the plan.
What do you expect from the PMLN? I'm going to go to Waqas. Waqas, what do you expect from the PMLN particularly? Because we've seen a back and forth, like Shafiq Sahab was also saying, between, they seem a little uncertain, they take a step forward, they take half a step backward. What do you expect? I mean, of course, there's the elder brother, younger brother, difference of opinion, difference in approaches also as far as politics is concerned. Do you think that the PMLN will eventually go in full throttle?
Marukh, as you have already mentioned, that politics, in fact, is a game of opportunities. It's making possible things impossible and impossible possible. So, if you look at the history of PMLN, ultimately, there are divergences in opinions, but when it comes to Mian Nawaz Sharif, and when he announces something, then all the opinions converges at his call. So now he has given a very clear call to the party and to the leadership that they will be participating in the Azadi March that Maulana in fact calls as. So they will be participating. So if you're talking about their strategy of being back and forth, so politicians always keep their cards intact, because they cannot show all their cards to the dynamics and to all the players who are into the political arena. So they're always
But
keeping
there
the
was
opportunities
right,
and
of
keeping
course.
the
But are
options
they taking
open.
it as an opportunity to perhaps, negotiate with the government at this time, or do you think that they plan, in your opinion, to join Maulana Saab?
If you look at the history of PMLN, they have been negotiating previously, but the way PMLN has been deriving its politics from the last 4 to 5 years, it seems that they have a clear-cut stance and they will be joining Maulana. And on the other side, there is also a concern of identity as well. They don't want their identity to be swayed away by the politics of Maulana. So simultaneously, they will be participating, but they will be more concerned about their party image, about their separate politics as a separate entity. So these are few things which are going simultaneously at the moment.
But at this time, if they're, if they join the march and they are, they are in a position to put pressure on the government collectively, even if not separately, so that that can be part of their agenda. Ji Zafar Saab, don't you think that's true?
Yes, Maruf, I agree with you, because unfortunately or fortunately for some people, it's a good thing that all the previous rulers are being under the axe of accountability,
Right.
since this present government has came into power last August, and they feel that they are being victimized. So they are trying to get rid of this situation, but unfortunately, right at this moment, the main leader of PPP is in jail. Some other main leaders are also in jail, like PMLN. Also, Nawaz Sharif Saab is being not only in jail, but he is being convicted, and so many others are also
right.
in jail and facing the corruption charges.
So you agree that it could be a ploy to actually pressurize the government?
Yeah,
Perhaps to
exactly the
relax the
same,
rate.
because I think it is well, Maulana Saab actually he is being hired to to launch a march against the government, because he himself
But hired by
is
who?
politically not that much strong to unilaterally or single-handedly throughout the government. So he is being supported by others, but with reservations that what we call in Urdu that saaf chupte bhi nahi, samne aate bhi nahi. So Maulana is being supported by Nawaz Sharif and others. And we have seen that in recent days, some smaller parties like ANP of Asfan Yarwali, Bazinjo Sahab, and Pakhtunkhwa Milli Awami Party of Mahmood Khan Achakzai, they have also extended their support for the march. But at the very outset, they kept themselves away, because they are not religious. Rather, from their own narrative, they are anti-religious. So, but at this point of time, they have seen that there is only one political force in Pakistan, that is Maulana Fazlur Rahman, who is ready to, bet through this march. So he has taken a very dangerous step as far as his own politics is concerned. But some other political
Do you think it
forces.
can backfire also? You said that it's a
Yes, there is a
dangerous step.
possibility that it can be
So what's the
backfired.
worst case scenario in your opinion? What can happen as far as Maulana Saab is concerned?
I think we have seen that in past, no such dharnas or rallies are being able to throw the government out of power, especially the powerful government like this. But these
Zafar said that is
dharnas
true.
are being used. Just one second.
You're right. I mean, I'm just to clarify. Of course, they've been unsuccessful to overthrow any government.
Yes.
That itself is true. But they have, in a sense, been able to pressurize government.
Yes, not also pressurize, but to extend their narrative to the masses,
Right.
because it's a good way, a very effective way of communicating your narrative, your message
Right.
to the masses. As we have seen in the case of PTI, they have done it. And at that time, I also opposed the way PTI carried out that dharna, because right now Maulana Sahab and his party is using the same argument being used at that time.
Right.
So it was a political mistake.
Which is being repeated now. in
Which
your
is being repeated now. But the difference is that Maulana has no stake, but PTI had stakes. So Maulana,
So he
because-
can, in a sense, be more dangerous then.
yes, from the political political side of Maulana, it's not dangerous anymore because he have no political clout left. He's trying to regain his
So in
political
a sense,
clout.
he has nothing left to lose. Shafiq Saab, isn't that true?
Of course.
So that
because-
could, in a sense, make him more dangerous.
Yes, I mean the way his private force shown up to the media in front of the media, the private army with some sort of a uniform, and they were parading, and it means that the Jamiat Ulama Islam chief Maulana Fazlur Rahman is in a confrontational mood, and he is going to stage the march. But he seems to be isolated, and he has nothing to lose because he has just two MNAs. The problem with Maulana's politics is that since when Prime Minister Imran Khan's party PTI came into power, I mean all the leadership and particularly the Prime Minister himself used the word Riyasat-e Medina, the state of Medina, and he started his speech with the recitation of Holy Quran. So a lot of religious, supporter who were the people who were supporting JUIF and Jamaat Islami, they voted PTI because they believe that Imran Khan is also Islamist. I mean modern, but at the same time Islamist because he always give example of Hazrat Umar Tala Anhu, the second Khalifa of Islam.
Right.
So I mean, there is a big dent in the politics of JUIF and also Jamaat Islami, and that is why for him, for Maulana Fazlur Rahman, it is like a do and die game. But let me add something. Like I got some information, it need to be verified by the way, that Nawaz Sharif Sahab has written another letter to JUIF
Okay.
and asking him that they are going to support you for the march, but not sit in. So this is a latest information I got.
So what would that mean?
I mean,
what kind of support, they will...
support mean it is an indication that the second tier leadership of PMLN will take part in the rally, but they are not supporting PMLN, not
they will
supporting.
not have their people, they will not have the supporters join them.
Join them in the dharna. Rally is fine, but not dharna, like to stage,
destabilize, right.
sit in front of a parliament or destabilize the government. They are not with them. So this is a clear, it has been communicated to JUIF leader.
That they won't.
So it
Right.
seemed that
Do you-
he seems to be a little bit isolated. JUIF seems to be isolated.
As far as the dharna goes,
Dharnas,
please, Zafar
yes.
Saab.
You have just mentioned the word, a phrase, Ansarul Islam, of that the Malaysia, the march of Malaysia and the Fazlur Rahman Sahab has carried out. It's a very dangerous thing. You know, Ansarul Islam is a proscribed organization which is being declared illegal because of from tribal area of Khyber tribal region.
Yes.
There was two organizations. One was Ansarul Islam, other was another one.
Mangal Bagh was a head,
Bagh,
yes.
yes.
Lashkar-e-Islam.
Because they had relations, secret and open relations with Al-Qaeda and anti-Pakistan militants. That's why they were being declared illegal. So at this point of time, when Maulana Fazlur Rahman, which is a mainstream Pakistan's religious political party, very small one, but it's
Right.
a
But
mainstream
nevertheless,
party,
right.
when they are using that term, a name of Ansarul Islam, what message he wanted to give?
Right.
So it's a very dangerous message. And second thing, they are being openly saying in the name of exercising their right to protest that they are coming to capital just to throw a legitimate elected government out of the power.
Right.
So it means
In fact, the only thing he's saying that he'll talk once the Prime Minister resigns. So that's his
Yes.
one demand. And he doesn't want to talk before anything.
So
And
actually
so he
it-
says, that
by
all
saying
or
this-
nothing approach that
Yes.
he has at this time.
by saying this, actually he has lost his not only the legitimacy of this march, but also there is no religious sanctity at all. According to Quran, which Maulana Sahab knows much better than me, in Surah Baqarah, verse 191, Al-fitnatu ashaddu min al-qatl. And the same Al-Baqarah, verse number 217, Al-fitnatu akbaru min al-qatl. So if a religious person of this stature, of a head of a ruling party, when he is saying that he is coming here to throw the government out, so it's a mutiny-like situation. So what you are going to, message you are going to send to Pakistani Muslim, how come it's a religious?
How is it legitimate, and
Yes.
how, you know, his whole basis of his dharna, his politics at this time is questionable in a sense.
Definitely.
I'm going to go, I'll come back to you, Ji Waqas Sahab. Ji Shafiq
Let
sir.
me add to Zafar Saab's comment, like that is the only reason that the Federal Information Minister Firdaus Ashika once said that the action can be taken against them under National Action Plan, because it's
Because
a private...
she's mentioning these organizations.
Yes, so the
also,
action
and
can
that's-
be taken against them under
Right.
terrorism charges, by the way.
But moving on, Ji, Waqas Sahab, as far as religion is concerned, you know, I particularly, we've discussed it a little bit and it's come up, but the point is that religion as a concept, in politics, can be dangerous, don't you think? Considering that, you know, like Zafar Sahab has also mentioned, it can have its own effects, and if we bring it into politics, into society, what kind of a trend are we setting for the future? And, you know, what does it mean for politics in Pakistan in the coming, you know, coming days, coming terms, so to speak?
Maruf, at the moment there needs to be a conceptual clarity, because Pakistan is an Islamic republic,
Right.
where there is a deep interplay of religion into politics, because our prime office holders cannot be non-Muslim. So
Right.
there is a restriction, and then in our, as a state, we have a specific place and an distinct place of religion.
Right.
And on the other side, there is another thing, that the use of religion as a negative use of religion to exploit people and to mislead people and to move them away from the basic state agenda and from the agenda of the public welfare. So this is what Maulana is doing.
So you're saying that in a sense it's inseparable because we are an Islamic
Yeah.
state, but the way that it's being used,
It's
isn't-
dangerous,
right.
because there is a history, because you see that Dr. Tahirul Qadri came twice,
Right.
and he also happens to be a religious leader in Pakistan, and then he also came with the same zeal to overthrow an elected government, but he failed. Then it was another a religious party that came to Rawalpindi, and they blocked the Twin Cities for quite a number of days, and they also came up with the agenda that they want to overthrow the government. Then the government of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, that is Imran Khan's government, also came to capital with the same agenda to overthrow the elected government. But all these attempts to overthrow the government actually failed. So I guess at the moment we don't need to worry about.
But don't you think that, I mean, of course they failed, but as an entity, as a political party, the PTI did make its mark. Of course, at that time, they couldn't overthrow the government. So in a sense, when they weren't successful in the short term, they were successful in the long term.
But the point was that at that time there was a vacuum in politics, because for so many decades, two political parties were in place, and there was a dire need of a third player, and PTI basically exploited that space that was created in the politics, and then they used the youth bulge in Pakistan to come to power. But
Right.
what Maulana is up to, because at the moment it's just the first year of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf government, and then we are fighting Kashmir,
And
we
even PPP and PMLN, I mean, everybody acknowledges that there's no legitimacy of the demands that he's trying to
Exactly,
demand.
and then there is a
that he's trying to put
consensus in the
forward.
political parties that they want to continue, and they want to go with the political process, and they want to go with the democratic process. They don't want to derail. They have their reservations, but they don't want to derail the democratic process at the moment. So there is a deep concern in Pakistan, in the mature political circles, that democracy has to move on, and we have to go with the democracy way it is in the Pakistan at the moment. There can be improvements. There is always a room for improvement, but the process has to move on. But on the other side, as Maulana is coming up with agenda, his agenda is basically to become relevant to the power corridors. His agenda is to negotiate some sort of space from
But
the
there are a lot of
government.
conspiracy theories, at this time surrounding his agenda, and also, the forces surrounding this claim of an Azadi March and, the Dharna right now. Isn't that true?
I guess conspiracy theories and democratic culture, and especially in the age of information and communication technologies, they're always rampant. There are,
You think
propagandas
that's all
being.
they are, conspiracy theories?
These are in fact conspiracy theories, because the mature people who have a political opinion, they understand the historic politics of JUF, the way they have kept themselves relevant to the power corridors, and it's for the first time that they have a very less number of seats in the parliament, and they have been unable
So
to
other than trying to
secure.
make themselves relevant, you don't
They're,
think?
they're just trying to, come up with the lost political identity, and they're just trying to have a mark on the people's mind that it's the Maulana that who's the ultimate savior. Because the kind of agenda Maulana is, dragging at the moment. Prime Minister spoke in UNGA about the Namus-e Risalat. Prime Minister spoke about
Right.
all things which these political parties have been using for the last so many years. So actually, Prime Minister has made them irrelevant. So
Right.
in order to have their relevance, and in order to have their space back in the politics, they are just making a storm in the teacup. I guess we don't need to worry about that much, as there is a frenzy in the media, and there is always trends going on social media, because that in this age, a lot of trends are not the real trends. They
Right.
are the trends being created by political actors and political factors in Pakistan. So I don't think so that there is an overestimation of the politics of Maulana as such. If government, Pakistan is not a banana republic. Pakistan, if states want, state will not let them come.
Right. Zafar Saab, do you agree? Do you think that the conspiracy theories are just theories, and that he's trying to make himself relevant, which is what Waqas Saab is saying? And,
Actually,
that
Waqas
is-
has made a very beautiful point. I really want to congratulate him for pointing it out, because there are very few people who have realized that why Maulana have reached to this level of hatred against the Imran Khan and PTI government. I also want to add 2-3 things. Number one, that because of the consecutive winning of PTI from KPK, that has almost diluted the Maulana's narrative from that Pashtun belt. Secondly, the transformation of tribal region into settled region, and the change of its constitutional status, that has actually almost killed the politics of Maulana.
Yes.
And he feels that within few months or few years' time, he will be totally eliminated from, because his power base has been captured by Imran Khan.
So there's nothing else except irrelevance that he fears,
Yes.
decline in his political popularity, which is of course something eminent as far as he's concerned.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what's behind all of this.
But one more thing, which is for me, it's the biggest concern, that there is no room left in Pakistan for fanatic religious politics. There's no such thing left. There was being, these religious forces has been used by some other forces, either political or non-political forces. Their street power has been used as a proxy. But that time has already gone by, and long ago. This is not the time. This is now a time of fair politics, fair power struggle. Secondly, which concerned me most, that because of these kind of politics or political ethics violations by Maulana and people like him, the overall respect of ulama in Pakistan has been drastically reduced. There was a time when ulama were role model for us, but
Right.
not anymore, unfortunately, and this is the biggest loss is going to happen. God forbid, if something wrong happened during these dharnas, or some casualties are been, so what will happen? The people will further frustrate from the religious point of view. And now, this is an era where people know what are the basic rules of Islam about politics, about life, about religion. So they can ask questions. They are now asking questions from these ulama as well, that if you are saying that mutiny is illegal and wrong according to Islam, then what are you going to do? So they are
But
asking questions.
But so you're saying that there's no danger, so to speak, of religion really, transcending into politics, into being used in this manner.
No, I think this
and
is the last
society.
chance. This is the last chance Maulana is going to use. And from after this episode, whenever it is going to conclude, there will be no more room left for the religious politics in Pakistan. If religious parties need to exist and get some support, they have to come side by side without using religious slogans. Now, from now on the politics will be on the genuine issues of the economic issues, the social issues of the
But
masses.
let's talk about that. Shafiq Saab, you know, of course, on the one hand, do you agree with Zafar Saab when he says that there is really no room for religion to interplay and be used as you know, the religious card to be used actively in politics anymore because people know better? That's what he's saying. Do you agree with that? And also, you know, secondly, if you talk about the economics, if you talk about the other issues, the government is facing pressure on those issues also at this time.
I think first of all, let me, there is a book called Mishkat Sharif, all ulama knows about it. And there is a hadith of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that in the end time, the ulama will be the worst people on earth. This is what I'm not saying of my own. This is Mishkat Sharif, Kitab al-Ilm. Anybody can check it. I think what are the contribution of the present day ulama? I mean, there was a time when some of the ulama, they played important role. Let me repeat their name, Dr. Israr Ahmed, Maulana Maududi Saab, and the father of Maulana Fadlur Rahman, Maulana Mufti Mahmud. There are some Maulana, they played very important role through their writing, through their lectures. But what are their contribution? They remain in the government, they know how to remain in the power corridor, like Maulana Fadlur Rahman twice joined the Pakistan People's Party government. They got their own chunk through some tactics, using some tactics. He remained in the government during the rule of General Pervez Musharraf. Then he was in the government. There was when Muslim League was the ruling party. So I mean, it seems to be a personal vendetta with PTI. That is why, because of his hatred for the PTI, he seems to be adamant to have a long march, and then I don't know, he's still confused, not showing his card, whether he will stage a protest, sit-in here in Islamabad or not.
Do you think he wants to wait, you know, to see what kind of numbers he can amass before he actually comes out with a strategy or a plan?
Yes, because the religious people, they are also divided. I talked to some of the people of my village, which is Shab Qadar in Chasadda, and the religious people, they are divided. Some of them are supporting Maulana Sahib, but some of them are not. They say no. Like Imran Khan is the only leader. He is talking about Riyasat-e-Medina, or the state of Medina, and he started his speech from the recitation of Holy Quran. So, I mean, there is a split among the religious people as well. As far as the opposition parties are concerned, I mean, they also reluctant. The reason is that if they fail to provide them proper support, so then they will be exposed. Like what we have seen when Nawaz Sharif was captured again and he was taken to Adiala jail. I mean, the PMLN supporter, when they came out on the street, the number was not that much expected by Maryam Nawaz or Nawaz Sharif Saab. So they also have a fear that they should not be exposed by supporting JUIF. So I think, I mean,
you think there's a fear that people might not come?
There is a fear. Yes, of course, there is a fear. Yes.
But as far as, and of course, you know, with their leadership not there, you know, with Mia Saab not here, his daughter in jail, you know, the kind of, the party right now, of course, you know, they're facing issues themselves.
Yes.
And that's not, you know, the same as far as the PPP is concerned. So themselves, the parties seem to be in a fix.
Yes, and Tazad Ahsan, today's statement is very strong, and he said that this is not the kind of politics People's Party can support.
Right.
It's very clear. And as for the PMLN is concerned, they are divided. But what I got the information, Nawaz Sharif is also warned that he doesn't want to be with
because
the
because at the heart of it, I think the PMLN and the PPP don't want to derail the democratic process.
Yes.
And that fear, I think, is there at the back.
Yes, because, you know, you are setting the precedent, you know. The time will come when they will be in the government. So, I mean, they don't want to set any bad precedent for the democracy in the future. So they don't want. That is why, I mean, People's Party stance is very clear, and they are confused whether to support the PMLN seems to be confused whether to fully support.
What kind of support will they lend,
and what is the motive behind JUIF Dharna or the Long March? So it is not clear. That is why they are half-heartedly supporting but not fully supporting. And as for my sources is concerned, that another letter has been written to JUIF
where he says that you know, he will not take, the PMLN will not participate in the Dharna. So
in Dharna. They will take, the second tier leadership will take part in a rally, but not in Dharna.
Which is essentially what the PPP was saying also.
Yes, no. PPP's stance was clear that they wanted to welcome them, not to take part, not in the rally and not in Dharna.
So welcoming them, I mean, if they start in Karachi, then they would probably, feel,
Allow them to march on the road, to
perhaps help them,
help them, like,
but not join them if they
not
come.
join them. Yes,
So,
this is a
so
clear
their
stance.
supporters will not be among the people who
Yes,
will march.
that is very clear. Yes.
That is very clear. Ji, but as far as issues are concerned, Ji, Vikas, we were talking about, Zafar Saab mentioned that there are other issues that people would rather, people would rather have politics play on, issue-based politics, so to speak. But if we look at that, at this time, unfortunately, the government is facing certain issues as far as economy is concerned. There seems to be, the pressure is there, and no one can deny that. So how do you look at that kind of pressure at this time when this kind of a protest, dharna or a rally is in the making?
Marukh, that pressure is there. There is no doubt. And then if you look at the way inflation is hurting common man, that is also very obvious. That's an open secret. And I guess this is one of the reasons that government has not so far used any of the coercive means to thwart the processes which are on to manage and arrange this march towards Islamabad. Because this is unfortunate that every other year a political party, in fact I would rather say, announces a march towards Islamabad, because this also gives a very bad image of the country internationally, because we are fighting FATF, we are fighting
in
Kashmir.
fact, we've had comments from across the border saying that get your own house in order, when we've been talking
Exactly.
about Kashmir, which is quite unfortunate.
Because in order to have a clear-cut stance on Kashmir, on the other day, today there was a statement from Foreign Office that India is trying to divert the waters for Pakistan, and that will be taken as an aggression. So look at the way other countries, the outer threats are in the region, and the way internal politics is playing. So this also amounts to destabilizing Pakistan at a very critical juncture of the history. So there is no doubt that these pressures exist, and government in fact has succumbed to these pressures, and they are not using means to...
Do you think that's very interesting? You're saying that the reason why the government is perhaps not using any coercive measures, or let's say for the sake of argument, coming out full throttle against Maulana Saab's Azadi March, is because they are under pressure anyway. But isn't there another way to look at it? If we look at it this way, that are they, perhaps that they don't think that Maulana Saab will actually be able to muster the kind of crowd that he is saying that he will be, or the kind of political support that he's talking about, and they're perhaps not taking him that seriously?
I guess if you look at PMLN, this is a very wise decision from PMLN leadership, that they will not be participating in dharna, because keeping people in dharna is a task.
Right.
Because if you're claiming that you will be bringing 1 million people to Islamabad, and you will be keeping them in dharna and sitting up in Islamabad, and then the weather is changing, winters are coming, it's very difficult to sit in an open environment.
Right.
But if you look at the history, if you look at the religious parties, they have been able to bring people. It's not like millions, but if they are in thousands, then even then they can siege the capital, they can sabotage the businesses in the capital, and then there will be news all over that there is a sit-in going on in the capital. The way Tahir Qadri came, they literally kept this Constitution Avenue hostage for a number of days, and not only once, in fact twice, and there was an elected government.
Do you think Maulana Saab will be able to bring the kind of numbers that Tahir Qadri
If you're talking about Maulana's number, Maulana will be able to bring more people than Tahir Qadri, because Maulana has a very organized crowd, and Maulana has a very organized network of madrasas. And then you have been talking about that religion is getting irrelevant. No, with growing poverty, religion becomes more relevant. Reason being that more students go to madrasas,
Right.
and all these students are, majority of the students and majority of the madrasas are run through philanthropies, and then that too by affluent people, and then these people are very easily brainwashed, and then when they come with a religious zeal. They do not come with a political motive. They come on the order of their leadership, and that is true. And it's difficult to in fact tackle that sort of crowd. It's not that easy. And then if one bullet is fired from the state, then the kind of human rights pressure from the world, and the kind of human rights pressure from the other political parties, all these factors are in place. The way PMLN has not been able to use force on all these forces
course, at the
when they
time.
came to Islamabad. So the same problems are with Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf government. And then if you look at the dynamics of Pakistani politics, then there are non-political forces as well, and then nobody is clear who is doing what and who is,
Which
basically
brings us to the conspiracy theories
exactly.
that are being
And
talked about.
there is another factor, that is that politicians have been gradually discredited. And out of their discredit, because they do not have that much of credibility among the masses, and people know that Mian Nawaz Sharif,
Ji.
struck a deal and he went to Jeddah. They know that Zardari struck a deal and he went to UAE. They know that Maulana has been dealing and he's been,
He's been
trying
here.
to remain relevant to, and in fact, he remained relevant to the politics for more than 2 decades. So that is a hell lot of time for a small political party, for a small political faction. So keeping in view these historical political dynamics of Pakistan, so there is always a ample space for conspiracies theories to boil in Pakistan.
Gee, Zafar Saab, do you agree with Waqar Saab as far as, the fact that the government, the lack of perhaps, it's late that we were earlier talking about, the fact that perhaps the government has formed a committee, not, perhaps later than it should have, as far as negotiating with Maulana Saab is concerned, and that perhaps that's because of the pressure that the government is facing, according to Waqar Saab, on other issues at this time. But do you think that is the case, or do you think that they're perhaps not, taking Maulana Saab as seriously, and they don't expect him to actually be able
This
to...
is the right opinion, and I don't agree with the brother Waqas, that government is still not yet taking it so seriously. They cannot consider it as a real threat to their government. But what they are trying by announcing formation of this committee was as a last resort, so that they feel that later on, when one should not be criticized them that you didn't try
You
to
didn't make
stop
the effort,
Maulana. You didn't
in
make
their
any
role
effort to
as
stop
as
that.
the government, they need to do that.
Yes, one more thing I would like to mention, Marukh, at this point of time, that
Ji.
madrasas are already in the transformation process.
Okay.
People outside madrasas, they are not been able to watch or analyze or feel the pulse that how they are being changing. But I have seen, I am in constant contact with those people, either ulama or the teachers or the students. They are now asking, even from their own Maulana, that you were remain head of the Kashmir committee for 10 years. Then why didn't you took march for the rights of Kashmiri people? Why didn't you try to expose the Indian brutalities against our Muslim brothers in Kashmir? Why didn't you go for raise the question of water theft by India? Why didn't you, took the issue of cross-border violation? Rather, people are still asking Maulana that there was a time when he was being supporting the non-state actors, which Pakistan for last 2 decades. Actually, these non-state actors like TTP, Al-Qaeda and other groups, they were getting support from these madrasas, not as a whole, but with the narrative the Maulana was being supporting, those were the breeding grounds for that fanatic approach. Now, Alhamdulillah, I am very much firm of the opinion that this fanatic approach has been gone. So now they are not thinking like this. But this question they are asking from their leaders like
But what
Maulana.
about Waqar Saab? Like, what Waqar Saab is saying, that he has the, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever side of the coin you want to, want it to fall.
But he is not the only
he
one.
Is,
I would
he
like
has
to give you.
the support of.
He has the support, but not the entire group. For example, if we talk about Deobandi school of thought, where do you, mark Maulana Tariq Jamil Saab, who is openly supporting Imran Khan and who is openly opposing this approach? He is the much bigger leader than Maulana Fazlur Rahman. The difference is he is not the head of a political party, it's a Tablighi Jamaat. But they have the same clan. But he is going with a different narrative and different approach, almost conflicting with the approach of Maulana Fazlur Rahman. So I cannot buy this that Maulana is the only representative of that Hanafi, Deobandi clan. There are much others. Rather, in my opinion, Maulana is left alone.
Let me tell you, let
Ji,
me
I'll
add
come,
something.
Ji, let me just take Wakas's comments and I'll come.
I guess
Ji.
we are not saying that Maulana is the factor, but Maulana is an important factor when it comes to the politics of politics into play. If you're talking about Maulana Tariq Jamil has never into been active politics, and he he is a different type of Maulana. And then if you're talking about Fazlur Rahman, he's a politician. And politicians, have their own strategies and they have their own agendas.
At this
And the
time,
way,
bring
if
them
it's not that he's coming to overthrow the government. If he comes to Islamabad, the kind of political instability he will create in country and the kind of hue and
But
cry,
that is his
it
point.
will,
He
it's
doesn't want to
going,
talk. I mean, that's
it's
what
going,
he's saying.
It's
The
going
one
to
and
damage.
only point that he's talking about is for the Prime Minister to resign.
Actually, that is the
That's a
something that is
strategy.
that is in the public. But politicians have their own agendas, implicit agendas, and then they negotiate on these agendas. And there is always a back channel diplomacy that is going on.
Do you
Even
think that back channel diplomacy will succeed in Maulana Saab's case at this time without the dharna actually starting?
I guess Maulana will come, because if he at this point in time, if he announces that he is not coming, he is going to dent his own supporters. So he will come, but maybe he negotiates, because
After coming.
he has a history of negotiation and he has been negotiating even between the political parties. So he is a very good mediator and a
So
good
he will cause
negotiator.
inconvenience, but-
Obviously, that is something that will damage economy, that is going to damage businesses, that is going to create mental agony for the people of Pakistan, and that is something that we don't want.
Right, Ji, Shafiq Saab, you were
Yes,
saying.
as I know, because I belong to KPK, and there are some rallies staged by some individuals, influential ulama of the Deobandi school of thought, and the most prominent is Maulana Tayyib of Panjpir in Sawabi. He is staging big rallies against this Maulana Fazlur Rahman Sahab Azadi March and Dharna. So, I mean, there is some dent to the politics of Maulana Fazlur Rahman.
So that's the reason. That
Yes,
could be
I mean,
the
it is.
reason.
He is not the only alim representing
Right.
the Deobandi school of thought, by the way.
Definitely not. Ji, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for joining us today. Shafiq Ahmed Saab, thank you for being with us. Waqas Salim, thank you for joining us. Zafar Sheikh Saab, thank you for being with us. As far as Maulana Saab is concerned, certainly it would be pertinent for him at this time to realize that the critical juncture at which we stand as far as economy is concerned, as far as other issues that the government is facing, numerous issues at this time, the foreign policy issues, would perhaps, dictate that he rethink strategy, he rethink, certainly protest is a right and no one can deny that, but at this time destabilizing the government, derailing the political process, going towards that would perhaps be unfortunate, and the way that things are going, he may not even succeed. Let's wait for what happens. Let's see. Let's hope that a saner approach would be better, and that sanity will prevail. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.